Hello everyone. Today I will be doing a brief presentation on the case study of the Challenger disaster of 1986. The 1986 Challenger disaster was one of the most significant events when it comes to spaceflight. There was a total of 7 individuals dead, and it impacted the general public alongside the U.S. space program. Soon after the incident, there were numerous reports on television regarding the awful tragedy, addressing questions on what had occurred. It began as a launch but ended in a sad misfortune for TV viewers and families of those who passed. The Challenger broke apart only 73 seconds after liftoff, burning 2 million liters of fuel. There was both a direct and indirect problem that drove the Challenger to a tragedy. The direct issue was a tank explosion, and indirect was lack of communication. The engineers who created the memo had been writing them since 1978. Therefore, it should have not been a surprise because they wrote warning to managers at Morin Toko that there was something wrong with the solid rocket booster, which could result in a catastrophe if it was not fixed. The O-ring on the shuttle's right solid rocket booster had failed at liftoff. The vaporized material on the strut connecting to the solid rocket booster external tank caused both pieces of hardware to break. The burning of the hydrogen that was streaming from the failed tank bottom, with liquid oxygen leaking from a part of the fuel tank known as an inner tank, is what ultimately led to explosion. Preceding this is a short video clip of the explosion.
Settling down now at 94%. Normal throttles for most of the flight, 104%. We'll throttle down to 65% shortly. Engines at 65%, 3 engines running normally, 3 good fuel cells, 3 good APUs. Velocity 2,257 feet per second. Altitude 4.3 nautical miles, downrange distance 3 nautical miles.
So the 25th Space Shuttle mission is now on the way after more delays than NASA cares to count. This morning it looked as though they were not going to be able to get off.
1 minute 15 seconds, velocity 2,900 feet per second, altitude.
Organizational communication and ethics. The rocket booster not working properly is what prompted the engineers to reach out to the managers. Engineers at Morton opposed the launching of the Challenger even the night before the launch. NASA's launch committee stated that no launch should happen at low temperatures below 50 degrees. In fact, during the launch, it was 36 degrees Fahrenheit. Negligence of technical problems was another issue that was faced. NASA authorized flight after being warned of defects. Roger Boyce-Jolly and his 4 colleagues warned that elastic seals tend to stiffen and unseal in cold weather. Despite this, managers decided to launch because their only focus was to be on schedule with the launch, political and economic interest. There were many actions that were taken by the writer of the memo, engineers, and managers. The writer of the memo, Brian Russell, omits the information the reader needs and fails to put it in the location where readers will read it. Data results are clearly provided, but no interpretation of the results are given. In addition, he downplays the impact of the consequences if the launch is not stopped. Issues with O-ring were known by engineer teams working on the shuttle, but attempts to notify management were held back. NASA staff opposed the delay. One person even said, "My God, Toko, when do you want me to launch? Next April?" This demonstrates that no matter what, they were not delaying the launch once more. The major consequence of the actions taken was the death of the 7 astronauts. Here pictured are those individuals, from left to right: Ellis, Michael, Krista, Gregory, Judith, Ronald, and Dick. That was not the only consequences. Other consequences included total loss of Challenger STS, total loss of mission, investigation and testing. The Challenger disaster cost $3.2 billion, and the shuttle program was suspended for almost 3 years, and NASA refrained from sending astronauts into space. Despite the number of years that have passed since the disaster, it is a day that will always be remembered in the history of NASA. It's interesting to see how a mistake that could have been avoided can cause a lifetime of consequences. There are some major takeaways that anyone can learn from this incident, especially in professional writing and communication. Some of the lessons I learned from this case study is poor decision making can lead to serious consequences. Always state the facts directly, never lie to yourself. Always place the important information at the top of the memo. Communication is key. Even if there is a minor flaw, you should discuss it and it should be dealt with seriously. In ethical issues, you have to choose between the lesser of two evils. In this case, the lesser of two evils was delaying the launch. That is an overview of the case study of the Challenger disaster, and I hope you learned a little bit more about it and how it had some ethical issues. Thank you for viewing my presentation.